to the Americans. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam, ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain, amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa man ahsanu qawlan mimman da'a ila Allahi wa amila salihan wa qala innani minal muslimin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I welcome all of you with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on all of you. You are most welcome to ask any questions on Islam and comparative religion or any question on propagation of Islam. If there are any questions, you are most welcome, brothers and sisters. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother, my question is, we all believe in destiny. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a provider and sustainer of life. I have heard that there is hadith which says that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to keep food provision for 1 year. However, if any difficult situation arises, we are taught to say tawakkal to Allah. Now, against this backdrop, can we go for insurance?
He said the Prophet used to keep provision for food, and then Prophet said tawakkal, have faith in Allah. So can you do insurance? See, Prophet and Quran has said several places that you have trust in Allah. But Prophet also said trust in Allah by tie a camel. Trust in Allah by tie a camel. That doesn't mean leave your house door open and say no robber will come. Trust in God but tie a camel. If you know the area is bad, where there are chances of being robbed, your duty as a Muslim is to close the door. If you are living in the olden times of Saudi Arabia, where no one could dare to rob because the hands would have been chopped off, and then you keep even your gold shop open, no problem, because there robbery never took place at that time. But here if you say in Bombay that I have faith in Allah and going to leave my house door open and then keep the money, keep my gold shop open without locking it. So the Prophet said trust in God but tie a camel. Now coming to a basic question of insurance. Can we do insurance is the main question. Basically, insurance per se is not haram in Islam. Insurance per se. I know many people say insurance is haram, but there is no verse in the Quran which says insurance is haram per se. That's the reason when you give charity, minimum you have to give is 2.5% of the excess wealth. That's the minimum, zakat. 2.5% of whatever is the saving above the nisab level, 85 grams of gold is the minimum. What is maximum? Everyone says 100%. It's not 100%. Maximum is keep minimum requirement for your family and then give. You can't give 100% and let your family come on the streets. That's not allowed in Islam. That doesn't mean don't trust in Allah. You have to look after your family also. So similarly, insurance, if you want to insure that today I'm there, suppose my property will get damaged, and to insure, or if I die, who will look after my family? Insurance per se is not haram, but because most of the insurance companies, they work on the system of riba, interest, therefore it's haram. So most of the insurance companies in the world, they work on the system of riba, therefore it's haram. But there are many Islamic insurance companies in Pakistan, in the Gulf countries, which work on the Sharia. Normally, whatever money you give in the conventional insurance company, when you give your money, they keep it in the fixed deposit, and they get the money, interest, and if something goes wrong, if there are 100 people, 2 people have a problem, so they take the money of 100 people's interest, and it may require only 60% people's money, and the remaining 40 becomes the profit. Example, just an example. So in the Islamic system of insurance, they take your money and they invest in the Islamic investment, or profit and loss sharing, or any other investment which is not haram. So insurance per se is not haram, but taking an insurance which is involving riba is haram. So in Pakistan and in many Gulf countries, there are Islamic insurance companies which work on the basis of Sharia. Whatever money you give as a premium, they take it and they invest it in the Islamic way. If something goes wrong, they give your returns with the profit from the Islamic system. So insurance per se is not haram, but taking out insurance based on riba is haram. Hope that answers the question. Any sisters have any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother, there is a group of people who want to help the community. They give loan to buy a house or a flat. The buyer says that he can pay back after 3 or 4 years. Example, he buys the house for 33 lakhs and is ready to pay back 40 lakhs after 5 years. So is it equivalent to interest?
The sister asked the question that if some people are willing to help some other Muslims who don't want to involve in interest, and they give 33 lakhs, suppose the market value of this flat is 33 lakhs, And if they are willing to repay after a few years, say 5 years or 10 years, and they say whatever after 5 years or 10 years will be the value of the flat, I will give you that much amount, I feel it is fine. It is not interest. Why? What they say that if the land value appreciates, but there should be a common understanding that which land value will you take. The land value may differ. So you have to have a common understanding. Okay, let's take the value of this record or this magazine or the government or whatever it is. So first you have to take an understanding whatever is the land value or whatever is the market, the lowest and the highest will take the middle one. And when you do such a deal, put in writing, because this will not be like a Qarze Hasan. It will not be like Qarze Hasan, it will be like profit and loss sharing, whatever it is. You may not want a lot of profit. So if you are saying that I'm ready to give you loan to buy a flat, but if the value of the flat increases, give me that much amount, so this will not be counted as a interest-free loan. It will be counted maybe as an investment or 2-in-1. Thoda paisa bhi banane ka, thoda help bhi karne ka, no problem. If you say, okay, fine, today it is 33 lakhs, after 5 years it's 40 lakhs. Is he going to give one installment? Or is he going to give part installment? You say, fine, today 30 lakhs, I give you 10% of the house value. So it becomes 3.3 lakh. Then if you give 10% every year, then give 10% of the market value of that time. So you can do any deal, but it should not be a fixed amount. You should not say, I'll take 33 lakhs, after 5 years give me 40 lakhs fixed. That is haram. If it goes to 40, give 40. If it goes to 35, give 35. It may go down also. So if it goes from 33 to 20 lakhs, then you also get 20 lakhs. It's both ways, profit or loss. So when you do such a deal, be careful. Sometimes the market value even go down, real estate value goes down. So you can do such a deal. It's totally around Islam, but it should not be a fixed amount. And secondly, don't keep it too vague, otherwise there will be a dispute. Quran prefers to put down in writing in Surah Baqarah chapter 2 verse number 282. Any financial transaction, Allah says in Surah Baqarah chapter 2 verse number 282, that put it down in writing and get 2 witnesses amongst the men. So that there is no dispute. So if this is done, sister, there is no problem at all. Hope that answers the question. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. If someone wants to take a loan from an Islamic bank or wants to buy a machine through an Islamic bank in the Murahaba system, and after 1 year when the customer pays back the amount, or the bank normally charges them a fee or a charge for that matter as profit, which somewhat is equal to the amount of the interest charged by the conventional banks, to which even Sheikh Taqi Usmani says that it's allowed, and he gives the example of 2 brothers who have 2 shops, one is selling alcohol and the other is selling Islamic books. So if the Islamic person wants to match the profit of the person who is un-Islamic, can we do so?
The brother asked the question that in the Islamic bank, he's taught mainly of the Murahaba system. There are various systems called Musharika, Mudaraba, and Musharika is the profit and loss sharing. In the Murahaba system, it is that if a customer wants to buy a machine, maybe it's costing 100,000 rupees, $100,000, and the customer says that you buy for me the machine, I'll return the money maybe after 6 months or 1 year. So the Islamic bank says, okay, fine, we buy the machine for you, and you pay us 6 months later or 1 year later, but we want X amount of profit. Similarly, when you go to a conventional bank, and if a customer goes to a conventional bank, and if he says that I want loan, for X, Y, whether to buy a machine, maybe say machine, I want to loan $100,000, 100,000 rupees, but I will give you back after 1 year. So the bank charges an interest. Depending on the country, it may either be 6%, 7%, 8%. The country which has very little inflation, the interest rate may be 2%, 3%, 4%. It may go up to 10, 12, depending upon the country. So that conventional bank of that country charges an interest rate. If you give after 1 year, I will charge you 8% extra, 10% extra, 6% extra. So interest per se, everyone agrees is haram. Now in some of the Islamic banks, or many of the Islamic banks, as the brother asked a question, that if they charge a profit, only the word is different. Instead of interest, they say it is profit. So we want 8% profit, or 10% profit, or say the bank is charging 10% interest. Out of $100,000 loan they have given for the machine, the conventional bank says after 1 year, you give me $110,000 or 110,000 rupees. The Islamic bank running in the same country says, fine, I'll buy the machine for you. After 1 year, if you give the money back to me, or I give you loan to buy the machine, I want a 10% profit. profit per se is allowed in Islam. But the question posed is, the profit the Islamic bank is taking, the benchmark for that profit is the interest rate of a conventional bank. Is that allowed? Is the question. And the questioner has said that the Sheikh Taqi Usmani, he is one of the authorities in economic finance, in the Islamic economic system and Islamic banking. He gives an example that if there are two brothers, both of them have got a shop. And in that shop, both want to do business. And one of the brothers, he's Islamic, the other is un-Islamic. The brother who's un-Islamic, he is selling alcohol. The brother who's Islamic, he says alcohol is haram, so I will not sell alcohol, I will sell Islamic books. But he says, what my brother gets profit, I want to get the same profit. So when he sees his brother is taking 10% profit on alcohol, this brother who's Islamic says, alcohol haram, but Islamic books is halal. But even I will put 10% profit. So logically, is it allowed or not? Yes or no? Yes. And even I agree, logically, if one person is doing haram activity, but his profit margin is 10%. If other person is saying alcohol haram hai, my Islamic book karo, allowed hai, but I want to earn 10%, perfectly fine. So giving this argument, he tries to say that the Islamic bank, if he takes a fixed profit based on the interest rate, like 10%, he's selling alcohol and marking up 10% on whatever alcohol goods he's buying. So the Islamic bookstore person also marks up 10%, it's allowed. So similarly, for Islamic bank also it's allowed, which I personally disagree. And I'm aware that many of the Islamic banks run on this system. And the point to be noted is that I respect Sheikh Taqi Usmani, he's a great scholar. But I'm aware that he's on several boards of many Islamic banks. He himself says that just because I'm on that board of the Islamic bank, that doesn't mean that the Islamic bank is 100% Islamic. He himself says that he doesn't know of any Islamic bank which is 100% Islamic. But his intention is that if it is 50% Islamic, tomorrow it will become 60%, tomorrow it will be 70%, which I respect his view. And I respect the guidance he gives. But different people have different thinking. For example, I per se, if I'm in charge, I would want 100% Islamic. That doesn't mean what Taqi Usmani Sahib is doing is wrong. He wants to encourage the Islamic system. Now the difference, normally what the argument he gave, the example he gave, for a layman he'll be satisfied. But here we analyze that the example given both the cases, there's a difference of chalk and cheese. On the face of it, it looks similar, but there's difference. The point to be noted that when a person is selling alcohol, what is haram in that is selling the product alcohol. Alcohol is haram. Profit is not haram. So you can surely match the profit but not match the product. Haram there is the product, alcohol. The margin, whether 10%, 20%, Islam gives you full freedom. The haram activity is because he's selling alcohol. Mentioned in the Quran, mentioned in the Hadith. So he's not copying the haram thing, he's copying the halal thing. So if he equates and says, if my brother earns 10%, I'll earn 10%, no problem. He can earn 15%, also no problem. But if he says that fine, intoxicant is haram. Now my brother is selling alcohol, I will sell drugs. Intoxicant is haram, whether alcohol or whether drug. So if he changes the intoxicant and converts alcohol to drug, even that becomes haram. Whether he charges 5% profit, 10% or 20%. But because he's copying the percentage of profit which is not haram, but he cannot copy the product. In the riba system of conventional bank, what is haram? Is the riba. Fixing a fixed amount of percentage on a fixed amount of money. Interest by definition means money earned on money lent. Riba also means an increase. So if you have fixed percentage of increase in the principal amount, fixed percentage of profit is fine, but profit keeps on varying. So there is a variation in that. For example, I said I'll take 10% profit. But the profit may vary. The profit may be 10 rupees, maybe 20 rupees, maybe 30 rupees. So I get 10% of that. Suppose I'm doing business with a partner. Whatever profit, we'll share 50-50. 50% profit is fixed. But I don't know how much will he earn. In 1 month he may earn 1 lakh rupees, then I get 50,000. If he earns 200,000 rupees, I get 100,000 rupees. So finally the amount that I get is variable. Anyhow, fixing a profit Even on fixed amount, for example, if I say that I will buy this machine and after 6 months I'll give it to you, or I will buy it for you, you give the money back to me after 6 months, but I want a fixed profit, 10%. And then because the machine costs 100,000 rupees, $100,000, the amount comes to 110,000 rupees, even that's allowed in Islam. So if you buy 100,000 rupees machine, I will get 110,000 rupees. If you buy 50,000 rupees machine, I'll get $5,000 or 5,000 rupees, means 55,000. Is it clear? So fixing a percentage is allowed. But in riba, what do? It is based on the interest. Fine? For example, the difference, how you can differentiate chalk and cheese, is that in a conventional bank, if someone comes for loan, whether it is for steel, whether it is for wool, or whether it's for glass, or whether buying an equipment, computer ho, ya car ho, the percentage of interest is the same. Because it is depending upon the money. Whether you're buying steel or wool or glass or computer, if you take loan from me, I want fixed 10%. That becomes haram. In a profit loss sharing, car may I would want 8%. In computer I may want 12%. So if you fixed a percentage on the machine, no problem. But if you say, if they match the conventional bank, that means whether a person comes for loan, a businessman comes to take loan for steel, or for wool, or for glass, or for computer, or for car, his percentage remains the same, which is again un-Islamic. If the products change, the percentage also changes. So fixing an amount equivalent to the conventional bank always is haram according to me. He can say sometimes it may match. Like if the conventional bank is 10%, if you take from me computer, I will charge 8%. If you take from me car, I'll charge 10%. If you take steel, I'll charge 20%, or 12%, or 15%. If some of the percentage matches with the conventional bank, it's coincidence, there's no problem. But if you say whatever the conventional bank will charge, I will charge the same, and I'm aware that many Islamic banks work on the system according to me is haram. What they say, that if we do not compete with the conventional banks, who will take loan from us? I speak to many of these people running banks, and they find me very strict. Zakir bhai, business कैसा करेंगे? Business करना फर्ज है क्या? If you want to do business by doing haram activity, don't do that business, do service. How will we compete? Who's asking you to compete? Don't compete. Is it a fard you have to start an Islamic bank? Who's asking you? So if you want to start an Islamic bank, but should not break any rule of the Sharia. So the example given by Sheikh Taqi Usmani, I disagree, because here the haram activities, the fixed interest. So if we keep the fixed profit, it is nothing but riba, only you're changing the word. So just by changing the name, that doesn't become halal. A layman may agree, arey profit hai, kya farak padta hai. So therefore, fixing in the murahaba system, that's the reason most of the Islamic banks, they cannot compete with profit and loss sharing. I don't know why, because the system is not right. But if you analyze most of the companies, all the top international companies, if it's a zero debt company, that means it is not taking any loan, whether from any bank or individual, that company is supposed to be on a higher level. Most of the top companies, they go into equities. They go into shares, they go into stock market. And whatever share you buy, that much percentage of profit they give it to you. So most of the top companies, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. But those that work on the Islamic system of profit and loss share, they are doing better business as compared to those who take loan from the bank. So taking from the Islamic banks and fixing 100% the same as the conventional system for all the product, according to me, is haram. Hope that's the question. Any brothers?
Assalamu alaikum. Referring to the hadith, Abu Bakr gave away all his possession as sadaqah. So what is the amount given as sadaqah?
That's why that when I say, when you read any hadith, you should be taken in context. People misunderstand the hadith. What is left in your house? Nothing. But he can't sell his house and say that even my house is in charity, and he lets his family come on the street, which Hazrat Abu Bakr never did that. Many people read the hadith and they conclude themselves. So therefore, when you analyze the hadith, mashallah is right. What I said, you cannot let your family come on the street. Didn't I say that? My thing was, you can't give everything what you have and let your family come on the street. Everything of your savings, yes, you can give that. Why can't you give? So the hadith says, Hazrat Umar, may Allah be with him, he said, I have given half. And he thought he was the best. In quantity, yes. In terms of money, yes. Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, I gave everything of my saving. What's left at home? Nothing. Of his saving. That doesn't mean he sells his house, he sells his clothes, and then say, fine. So that means he has trust in Allah and His Rasul. But if he sells his house also, and that's not allowed in Islam. As a general, if someone does that, we're required. See, again, this is a general statement what I made. Suppose someone says, example, hypothetical, okay, fine, so much thing is required for jihad. And it's a must. And if Prophet's life is in danger, I would say, live in my house for that. You understand? No? But generally I'm talking about. So that was for jihad. But even that time his house was there with him. And secondly, if the Prophet also asked for jihad, that will you sell your house? Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be, surely would have said yes. Not that he would have said no, but that is a different situation. But they talk about general charity. Because there if you require that we should love Allah and His Rasul more than ourselves and our wives also. So in that context, if you realize, even if some Sahaba sells his house also, it's allowed in Islam. I'm talking about general context. So when the Prophet said, trust in God but tie a camel. So here that means he's not tying his camel. But that's the general situation. So therefore, when you hadith you read, Quran you read, you should understand the various hadith and no two Sahih hadith will contradict. So many people read one hadith and they think that is the benchmark. Like many people read the way Prophet was kind and the way he corrected mistakes. There are some of the hadith, the way he corrected the mistakes, I would say that, how is he correcting? So depending upon the situation, some mistakes the Prophet corrected on the spot, some later on, some he threw stones also and corrected. So depending upon the situation. So therefore many a times people pick up hadith and they say this is the lifestyle of the Prophet. Yes, it is. It is one of the lifestyles of the Prophet. So what I said is not wrong and what hadith you quote also is not wrong. Hope that answers the question. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.